Most of the lawyers are present, the defendant is present. So we're missing a few people from the state, maybe?
They'll be back.
Okay. Can we start lining the jurors up?
Yes.
Okay. Defense? I'm here. So just let me know when you're all ready. Okay. I'm not sure exactly.
What?
Are you calling Dutch? Are you calling Dutch?
Yes.
No, then we're not.
Okay.
We're checking on one of the terms.
Sure. We'll wait to introduce that. You don't have to do it while we're done. You want to take the time and look at that?
Okay. So we can go ahead, Judge. This other issue we can wait on. Okay. Just before we start, I need to break between 11 and 11:15 for a meeting today. Does that suit your witness presentation?
That's not going to be a problem, Your Honor. We have 5 witnesses today. I don't know how long those will be. It could be a short day. So
Okay.
as far as our witness is concerned, you can take, not that you need my permission, but
Sure.
you can take your time.
Okay, so is it okay with the defense that we're going to take a break for lunch around 11:15, depending on where the testimony is. It's going to be an early lunch, but I have a meeting that I have to attend at 11:30.
Yes, no, absolutely.
I just wanted to let you all know. And then, Mr. Sachs, do you have any idea approximately when you'll be finishing your case?
Probably next week.
Okay, okay, that helps. I'm just trying to give a tentative schedule, and that following week, the week of the 8th, is the week that I have the juror who is unavailable from the 10th through the 12th.
That should be a
And
problem.
then there's another juror on the 9th who has a family graduation that he has asked to attend, although he has said he completely understands if he can't, and that's on the 9th. So if you're finished next week, I was thinking we would have court on Monday, if at all that week, because many of the jurors have conflicts.
That's fine with us.
Is that
The week of the 8th, Your Honor?
correct?
That's fine. I'm sorry. If the state is gonna finish,
They said next week.
that's the week of the 1st,
Yes.
can we just not have court on the 8th?
Well, that was my plan.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
The
misunderstood.
plan was if we have the 5th off, which is a Friday. My plan is if the state doesn't finish by next week, then they can have Monday if needed.
I see.
But if not, because of the juror conflicts, we would take a break from the trial for you all to get certain matters taken care of, and that would be an extra week for you all to work on your inner office or in-office matters, okay? So I just wanted to double check to make sure.
Judge, we have to talk about the review at some point. I know we're not doing it now, but I just want to put that on the table.
Absolutely. Okay, are the jurors ready to be brought in?
Yes.
Thank you.
Jurors are answering. All jurors present.
Okay, the jurors are present. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. State, you may call your next witness when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sergeant Raymond Beltran.
Good morning. Please remain standing for this one.
Good morning, sir. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down and be seated. And when you're seated, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Raymond Beltran, Beltran.
Sir, what is your occupation?
I'm a sergeant for the Broward Sheriff's Office,
And how long have you been with the Broward Sheriff's Office?
19 years.
Is that your first law enforcement experience with the Broward Sheriff's Office?
With the Broward Sheriff's Office, yes.
Yes. Okay, so I'd like to call your attention to November the 13th, 2018. Do you remember that date?
Yes, sir.
And were you on duty that day?
Yes, sir.
And did you have an assignment that you went to on that day?
Yes, sir.
Where did you go?
I went to the main jail, Pod 4 Delta,
Okay. And what time did you arrive?
3 p.m., I believe.
Okay. How were you dressed?
I was in my uniform, my emergency response team uniform.
Okay. On that date, did you come in contact with the defendant in this case, Nikolas Jacob Cruz?
Yes, sir.
Do you see him in the courtroom today?
Yes, sir.
Would you be good enough to point him out for us?
Sure. He's wearing a gray top and I believe a blue shirt.
Okay. Madam Reporter, with the court's permission, would you please let the record reflect that Sergeant Beltran has identified the defendant, in this case, Nikolas Jacob Cruz. So you came in contact with him at that time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There's come a time that afternoon that something occurred.
Correct.
Okay. I want to show you now State's Exhibit marked 7A for identification and ask you, Sergeant Beltran, could you identify that?
Yes, this is the video of the incident.
Okay. And is this video, you have seen that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does this video truly and accurately depict the actions between you and the defendant, Nikolas Cruz, that existed on November the 13th, 2018?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to offer State's Exhibit 7A.
Is there any objection?
Yes, it's based on the previous litigation
Okay.
regarding the video. Can we go sidebar?
You mean in the related case number?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I remember, but we can go sidebar if we need to.
Okay. Yeah.
sets, this is gonna be published to the courtroom.
Yes.
Okay. And over the defense objection states 7A as an alpha will be received as states 426.
May we publish this, Your Honor?
Yes.
Sergeant Beltran, we're going to publish this. You can just say, interrupt to explain what's happening, rather than just have you explain without the video. We're going to play it, and you tell me to stop it to explain what's happening. Okay?
Yes, sir.
There's no sound on this, correct?
Correct.
Is that you sitting at the desk?
Yes, sir. At the table,
Right.
right by the stairs. We're in Unit 4, Delta, Unit 1. Mr. Cruz is walking around doing his exercise like normal. At one point here, he's going to walk around and he's going to flip his shower slides, where he brings them in and he walks with his shower slide folded. So I told him not to do that because I didn't want him to fall. If you look, you can see the shower slide being folded.
On his feet, you're talking about, right?
Yes, sir. Right here, if you want to stop it. That's when I told him. He turned around and asked me, or told me, that his shower slide was broken. So I advised him that he needed to go back inside his cell, and I was going to get the sergeant on the floor to come over and bring him a new pair. And once the sergeant did that, then he can come back out.
Okay.
If you want to pause it now, at this point, he basically stopped talking. He flipped me off twice, and then he attacks me. You get started. All right, if you want to stop. Right here, I'm trying to take control of him, but if you can see, his right hand is going for my taser.
All right. Your taser, do you have your taser with you?
Yes, sir.
Would you stand up,
Sure.
please? Is that where it was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. You sit down.
Okay. So with his right hand, he's going for my taser. He also, with his left hand, tries to go for the taser also, with both hands. The way the taser is in the holster, there's a little button. If you want me to get up, I'll show you.
Illustrate how it works.
There's a little button right here. You got to press the button, you got to rock the taser back, and then you pull it out.
Okay.
How long does it go to see?
Why don't you,
Raise your
John,
hand
can
if
he
you
step
can't,
down?
if you can't see. There's a bunch of you that cannot.
Why don't you step down here?
You have to press this button right here. You got to rock it back, and then you can lift it up. You good?
So you just can't pull it straight out?
No, sir. He could actually lift my whole body.
Okay.
Once he's going for my taser, I immediately had to get my taser back. If you want to go back a little bit, he actually has my taser in his hand. I'll tell you when to stop it. He's going for it right there with his right hand. He also grabs with his left. You can see he's trying to press the button. Right there, he has the taser in his right hand. At this point, I have to get the taser back.
Why?
He could tase me, he can incapacitate me, and he can basically do whatever he wants to me. Also, if he hits me with it, it's a blunt object, he can hurt me. So, all I was thinking right there was get my taser back.
Yes, sir.
We're fighting for the taser right now. At one point, you're going to see a light, and I'll show you.
Hold it.
It's coming up.
Wait, it's coming up fuzzy. Aaron, could you go back?
Right there. You can see the light. You see where the table is? You saw the light?
Yeah.
Well, you can see the light. Basically, the taser activated, if you want to stop it. Prior to this, basically, the taser was activated. It was turned
When
on.
you say activated, what do you mean?
It was turned on. So you pull the lever up, and that's when that light comes up.
Okay.
So once it was activated, it was the only way the taser goes off is if you press the trigger.
Okay.
At this point where we're fighting for the taser, I can't tell you if I press the trigger or if Mr. Cruz pressed the trigger. But the taser deployed,
All right.
meaning that the two prongs in the front shot out.
Okay. So explain how the taser operates.
Okay, there's a cartridge in the front. When you press the trigger, two prongs come out, and they're
Are
intended
the two
to
prongs
hit.
attached to anything?
Excuse me?
The prongs attached to anything?
To the body.
Okay.
Like when they deploy, the intent is to hit one and one, and then it does the job.
Okay.
So it deployed onto the floor. So that's when you see that light.
So stop for a second. So when you say deployed, the two prongs or two darts shoot out and they
Correct.
hit your target, right?
Correct. That's
And
on a
then-
normal.
Right. So I'm just trying to get the explanation how a taser works, or this taser works.
Correct.
So it goes out as attached to anything, wires?
They're connected to the taser.
Right.
So the wires shoot out with the
Right.
two prongs.
Right.
It connects to your target.
Right.
And then it does what it's supposed to do.
Okay, and when you pull the trigger, what happens?
It cycles for 5 seconds.
Okay.
While you have, on this particular taser, while you're pressing the trigger, it'll cycle for 5 seconds and it'll stop.
So electric charge goes out to incapacitate the person, correct?
Correct. For 5 seconds.
All right.
Then, if you want to continue another 5-second cycle, you're supposed to press the trigger again.
Okay. And you can press the trigger continually and
After, yes, sir.
so 5 seconds, 5 seconds, 5 seconds. 5
Correct.
seconds. Okay.
So right here, basically, he got in a fighting stance, I got in a fighting stance. He took a couple punches at me. He missed. I hit him one time. I had the taser in my hand. I struck him. He moved back. Then he got on the table. I told him to face down. I put the taser on his back. I handcuffed him.
Okay.
I took him back to the cell, and
Okay. Okay, and that was the end of that?
yes, sir.
Okay. So with the taser, what type of training do you have, or did you have with that?
We go through the taser class, which is an 8-hour course. We get explained everything about the taser. Once a year, we do a refresher, where we deploy against like a dummy
Okay,
once a year.
okay. And you carry that on your uniform all the time, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's all I have, Sergeant Beltran. Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, defense, any questions?
Yeah, I mean, we have a sidebar.
Sure. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short recess. Please do not discuss the case among yourselves, and please leave your notepads behind. Sergeant, if you wouldn't mind just stepping outside while I have a conversation with the lawyers, please don't discuss your testimony with anyone.
Yes, ma'am. On the rulings on this video and these matters. So your first argument is that you want to impeach the sergeant with the reckless driving conviction that he concluded his probationary sentence 2 years ago. Is that correct? Is that the length of time that you said, 2 years?
He was on probation for 2 years, but that period expired.
But you want to be able to ask him whether or not, why don't you tell me rather than me telling you, so I can make sure I understand you.
Judge, I think the argument posited by this meal was that that we should be able to show that Sergeant Beltran has a tendency not to follow standing operating procedure with the Broward Sheriff's Office, and in doing so, while he was on duty on an extradition assignment, he picked up he was arrested for a DUI.
Okay, is there any evidence that during this incident or altercation with your client that the Sergeant Beltran was not following standard operating procedures?
I mean, besides myself testifying, Judge, I can tell you that he wasn't following SOP, allowing him to walk around continuously around the tables. when he's in the day room, he's supposed to be seated.
He was not allowed. Can you say that again, Mr. Mayor?
When you're in the day room, you're supposed to be seated according to standard operating procedures.
All right, and what is the second argument you wanted to make, or second point of cross-examination?
Judge, during the pendency and preparing the litigation of this case, Sergeant Beltran appeared for deposition. He followed subpoenas as directed. He made sure that he was there on time, because if he didn't, he was under the threat of imprisonment by violating the conditions of his probation in Washington State.
Do you have any evidence that he had a pattern of not showing up when he was subpoenaed for deposition? So you want to be able to ask him if the only reason that he showed up is... And first of all, using prison for... Can you go to prison for reckless driving in Washington?
I said imprisonment, Judge.
Imprisonment.
Threat of imprisonment.
What's the maximum penalty for reckless driving?
I'm not sure what it is in Washington State, ma'am.
It might not even be jail time. You need to know that if you're going to ask him that, don't you? All right, what else?
It's up to one.
In the state of Washington. Because I can tell you in the state of North Carolina and other states, those kind of things are very different. And some are not even considered a misdemeanor or felony or other.
There's a housing statute. It carries up to 364 days in county. And a fine of not more than $5,000.
And what was the third area you were saying about the video?
Just that we don't have the remainder of the video as been previously litigated on the motion to dismiss because it was not preserved. So we don't know what happened just prior to this incident.
Your Honor, if I could just add a point, that the rule is that you can't ask a police officer if he's, or a witness, if he's still on probation at the time he is testifying. The rule isn't that you can ask a police officer or a witness if they've ever been on probation during the pendency of the case. That's not what the law is. That's what the defense wants it to be, but that's not what the law is.
May I step out and use the restroom real quick while
Sure.
you're doing that, please? Thank you.
consider your arguments and refresh my memory on some of the rules of evidence and the specifics as noted in Professor Earhart's Florida Evidence Guide. And my rulings are as follows. The general rule, as you all are familiar with, is that a witness can be impeached with a prior conviction for a crime of dishonesty or false statement. And the only exception to that is when a person is called as a witness by the state and the person is either under investigation, under an open criminal prosecution, or the person is under supervision, such as probation, community control. And that is for the sole purpose of being able to show through that witness that the witness is trying to curry favor with the state because of the witness's current situation. In this situation, Sergeant Beltran was, I don't know if he was convicted or not, withholder, but I don't think it matters, because it would be admissible if he was on probation or if there was an active pending case against him. But the fact that he is no longer under supervision, the exception, the very limited exception that allows for questioning of an open investigation to show that the witness is currying favor, or perhaps currying favor, does not exist here. And so I don't believe the mere fact that he's a police officer makes it wide open for all of these other reasons. I think that the rules of evidence are clear that when a crime is not a conviction and or it doesn't meet the standard for a crime, it is a conviction, but it doesn't meet the standard for a crime of dishonesty or false statement, or it's not a felony, it's a very limited situation when you can bring it up. And I don't believe that that situation and those factual requirements are met here. So I am not going to allow you to cross-examine Sergeant Beltran on this reckless driving matter from the state of Washington. And that includes, your argument was that the bias, he was biased and that he appeared for depositions only because he was facing these charges in Washington. I agree with the state that the bias has to be a current bias. You can't question about a bias that happened at depositions several years ago. In addition, when it comes to any type of impeachment on this video, I have reviewed my prior order as well as my notes on the hearing. And the video preservation or lack thereof had nothing to do with this witness. It had to do with his superiors. So there is absolutely no relevance in asking this witness about video preservation, which was not part of his job responsibility, and he may not even know the answer to. He may, but I don't believe that that qualifies as impeachment material either. And finally, I had mentioned the possibility of just asking questions. If your contention is that this incident may have met the requirements of self-defense. However, after refreshing my memory as to the hearing in 18-14129, I found that there was absolutely no showing that the material on the pod video from the day showed any interaction between the sergeant and the defendant. That the video was not material, it was not exculpatory, and that the pod video prior to, there's, I believe, 5 minutes prior to the incident and 2 minutes after the incident were preserved. But I did find previously that the pod video, any other pod video, would nevertheless be irrelevant to any claim of self-defense. If the defendant were to assert a claim of self-defense in this matter, any perceived threat on the defendant's part as it related to Sergeant Beltran would have to be imminent. And the pod video of the entire day would be irrelevant to that fact. in the moments leading up to the altercation were captured on video and represent the only time that would be relevant to a claim of self-defense because of the amount of time. So I don't know if your intention after he pled guilty is to try to assert a claim of self-defense.
I don't think the defense has mentioned that at all, Judge.
Well, you were mentioning the video, and I wasn't sure where you wanted to go with the video questioning, so I'm just bringing that up, that I have already determined that any pod video that is not available, number one, has nothing to do with this witness, and number two, would not be relevant to any claim of self-defense. So with that, can we bring the jury back in and the witness in, please? I think they're not lined up yet, so if you all want to be seated for a moment, and the bailiff will announce when they're entering.
Jurors are answering.
The jurors are present. Everyone may be seated. Mr. Wheeler, whenever you're ready.
Good morning, Sergeant. How are you doing?
Morning, sir.
You mentioned the taser during the incident, right? Like the one you're carrying now?
Correct.
Would you agree with me that the taser you're carrying now weighs slightly less than, say, I don't know, a stapler?
And a stapler?
Like a stapler, like you would find on the judge's desk.
Sure.
Okay. And the taser that you carry it because it's considered a non-lethal instrument, right?
Correct.
So going back to 2018, from the moment that Mr. Cruz is brought into the Broward County Main Jail, he's kept in his own housing unit, right?
Correct.
So that's 4D1.
Correct.
I think when he first started, he at least had 2 officers with him at all times.
I don't recall, but you could be right.
Okay. Well, at least since then, he's had at least 1 BSO deputy with him.
Correct.
Is that true?
Yes, sir.
Is this any old BSO detention deputy that's with him, or is it some
I'm sorry,
specialized? Is it a specialized deputy that's with him?
I don't understand what you're asking me.
A member of the ERT.
Yes.
What is ERT?
Emergency response team.
Okay. And so the only these deputies are working this detail, right?
Correct.
Besides this physical fight with you, the only person Mr. Cruz has ever heard in main jail has been himself. Is that true?
Himself?
Yes.
I don't know.
You don't know?
If he's hurt himself?
Yes, sir.
I don't know.
Were you aware that he was placed in suicide watch multiple times?
Yes.
Okay. And why do they do that?
For his safety?
Right. So he doesn't hurt himself, right?
Correct.
The injuries that you received during this fight, they were classified as superficial, is that correct?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I don't know if they were superficial or not.
Do you recall photographs being taken of your injuries?
Yes, sir.
And do you recall there being any bleeding?
No, I do not.
Do you recall them putting on bandages on you?
I chose not to have medical attention.
Did you go to the hospital after work?
I chose not to.
So the video that was played for the members of the jury doesn't show what happened just before the incident, right?
Say that again.
The video that was played for these jurors doesn't show what happened just before the fight, correct?
It doesn't show what happened before the fight?
Yes.
It did.
Okay.
He walked around.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but it showed him pacing around the tables.
He's exercising.
That's his exercise?
That's what he would do, yes, sir.
And how long was he doing that for?
That day?
Yes. Or just before the incident?
Probably probably 20 minutes, maybe.
All right, so just 20 minutes walking around in a circle.
Correct.
Isn't it true that after this incident, you lost your status on the ERT?
Lost my status?
Yes, you were taken off the emergency response team.
I was never taken off.
You were never taken off?
No,
Were you assigned to administrative duties?
I was.
And how long did that last for?
2.5 years, maybe?
Since then, have you been tasked with guarding one-on-one Mr. Cruz?
No, sir.
Judge, can I have a moment, please?
Sure.
Nothing further. Thanks, Judge.
State, is there anything else?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. You're excused.
Thank you.
State, call your next witness.
Detective Kevin Forsberg.
you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down and be seated. And when you're seated, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
My name is Kevin Forsberg. Last name is Forsberg.
And your occupation, sir?
I am a deputy sheriff with the Broward County Sheriff's Office, currently a sergeant in charge of the homicide unit.
Okay, and how long have you been with the Broward Sheriff's Office?
Approximately 21 years,
And how long have you been in the homicide unit?
going on 12 years now.
Okay. I'd like to call your attention to Wednesday, February the 14th, 2018. Were you on duty on that occasion?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and on that date, did you have an occasion to respond to a certain location?
Yes, I believe it was about 2:35 in the afternoon. I was notified by my sergeant, which was Jonathan Brown, to respond out to the shooting that occurred at Stoneman Douglas.
Okay, Marjory Stone Douglas High School in Parkland, Broward County, Florida.
Yes.
And what time did you arrive?
I got there about 3:05 p.m., and it was still an active scene at that time.
Okay, and did you have an occasion to go into the 1200 building?
Yes.
Okay. I want to show you now State's Exhibits 22W, 22V, and ask you, Detective Forsberg, if you can identify that.
Yes.
What is that?
These are cell phones that were located in the east stairwell, first floor of the 1200 building.
Okay. And showing you now State's Exhibit. Already been introduced in evidence, 255. Is that on everybody's screen? Okay, you recognize that?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
That would be the same cell phone that we located and eventually ended up recovering and identifying it as the phone belonging to Nikolas Cruz.
Okay, and showing you State's Exhibit 256. Is that another shot of that?
Yes, that would be the same phone.
Okay, and now showing you, now at this time I want to offer State's Exhibits 22B and 22W.
Is there any objection?
Amen.
Without objection, states 22V, like Victor, will be received as 427, and states 22W will be received as 428.
Detective Forsberg, I'm now showing you State's Exhibit marked 23B. Ask you, sir, if you can identify that, please.
Yes.
What is that?
This would be the evidence bag that I prepared and submitted this cell phone in and sealed up and provided to Detective Valerian Perez after locating it.
And that's the same phone that's been depicted in State's Exhibit 256, 255. 428.
I'm
Right.
sorry, Mr.
Sorry?
What did you say that was there?
I can hear you.
What number did you say that was?
428.
Thank you.
428. And 427. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, at this time, I'd like to offer State's Exhibit 23D.
Do you guys in Delta?
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any objection?
That's the actual phone?
Yes.
Just pursuant to the suppression issues that relate to the cell phone, but other than that, no objection.
Okay, let me speak to the lawyer's sidebar, please. Okay, over the defense objection, states exhibit 23D, like Delta for identification, will be received as states 429.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Detective Forsberg, when you went into the first floor hallway, were you familiar with the phone number 954-821-1007?
Yes.
And did you use your phone to call a number when you were walking through the hallway?
Yes, I did.
Okay, tell us exactly what you did.
I started on the west end of the first floor entrance. I started immediately. I was actually originally given 3 separate numbers to call that were potential numbers that we were looking for. The initial number I started calling, it would ring, but wasn't getting an answer. I called it multiple times as I walked through the hallway, got about midway, and I received an answer on that phone. It ended up being a person by the name of McCaskill, Charles McCaskill. I had a brief conversation with him about what, or if any, his connection was to Nikolas Cruz. He stated he was an acquaintance, that he had used his phone in the past to order an Uber. I let him know that another detective would be contacting him shortly. I moved to the next phone, which was the phone starting or ending in 1007.
954-821-1107?
Yes.
Okay.
So as I was about the midway point of the hallway, I started calling that phone, trying to see if I could hear it anywhere in the hallway. I heard it faintly. It sounded like it was coming from the east location of the hallway. I continued calling it multiple times until I got to the east end of the hallway, and then I could hear that it sounded like it was coming from inside the stairwell location on the first floor on the east side.
East stairwell.
Yes.
Okay.
So once I called it again, that last time, I observed the phone. I could see it on the floor. I could see it was face up with the screen up. It was ringing, and I could see that my phone call was going to that phone.
Okay.
And at that time, we identified that phone.
Okay, and then you collected it, right?
Yes, we had crime scene detective Crespo photographed and documented it prior to collecting. It was placed in the evidence bag and sealed up for Detective Laren Perez to take.
Okay, and you gave it to Detective Perez, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, I have no further questions of Detective Forsberg.
Defense, any questions?
No,
Okay, thanks. You said no, Benjamin, right?
Yes,
Ms.
I did.
Ms. Benjamin?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, you're excused.
Thank you.
Next witness.
Yes.
Detective Perez.
Detective Perez, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you, sir. You can put your hand down and be seated, and when you're seated, please state your full name and spell your last name for the record.
Valerian Perez, P-E-R-E-Z.
And your occupation, sir?
I work for the Broward County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, and how long have you been with the Sheriff's Office?
Just shy of 30 years.
Okay, and what are you assigned to now?
Currently, I'm an administrative sergeant for the Dania Beach District.
Okay. I'd like to call your attention to February the 14th, 2018. Remember that date?
Yes, I do.
All right, did you have an occasion to respond to a certain location?
Yes, I did.
And where did you respond to?
I responded to Stoneman Douglas High School at 5901 Pine Island Road.
Okay. Let me show you now State's Exhibit Mark 429 that has been introduced in evidence and ask you
Detective Perez, if you could take a look at that and see if you can identify it.
Yes, I can.
Okay. And how did you first come in contact with that?
I first came in contact with this phone through Detective Forsberg. It was a phone that was discovered inside the school, and he brought it out to me.
Okay, and he gave it to you?
Correct.
And that's the phone he gave to you, correct?
That is correct.
And what did you do with it?
I took the phone to another detective in order for him to do some forensic work on it.
Okay, and who did you give it to? What's the name of the detective?
Ronnie Fairclough.
Okay. Thank you very much, Detective Perez. Your Honor, I have no further questions of Detective Perez.
Do you have any questions? No, Your Honor. Thank you, sir. You're excused.
Thank you.
Do you want to take that recess now?
Is your next witness
Maybe a little long, yeah.
It's longer? Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take an early break. This is my fault. I have a meeting that I have to go to at 11:30. So it's 11 o'clock, just before 11 o'clock now. We'll be in recess until 12:45. Please do not discuss the case among yourselves. Please do not let anyone approach you or talk to you about the case. Please leave your notebooks behind. Please follow the same procedure that we've been following, and please be back at 12:45. Thank you so much. We're in recess. I'd like to start back up at 12:45, so if everyone can please be here by then, if the sheriff's office can please have the defendant here by 12:45.